Breathe. Two first chapters of this morning was meant to bring up something inside you. So we can gaze deeper, of course, at our attitude on our spiritual path. Because we want to be able to transcend what still resists. What makes it impossible for us to consider having power over nature, because this is what the soul does. This is what God does. And we want to go beyond that limit, and I have to tell you about the aspects of this limit. Okay? Because when I speak of control, you look at the surface of what you think is control. So I have to tell you, utter perception, what is that control that presents faith, so that you can go further in understanding, I did integrate that control at every level that I taught what control was. And understand at one point, control is not just a mental reaction. There's an atomic reaction, there's a cellular reaction, a molecular reaction, there's an organic reaction. And you as a whole, and your identity in the system, there's something very refined at many levels about that control. Okay? The Diamond Sutra. I'm the only one who has a copy, so I'm just going to read small parts of it. The Diamond Sutra, the Vajra Chadika Sutra, okay? Which is, but there's a very long title and there's a short title. The Diamond Cutting Sutra, or the Sutra of the diamond that is so hard that it can cut through illusion. I just remembered the entire immense phrase in Sanskrit to say that. Okay? Cutting through the illusion. I'm going to take small parts of it. Just tell you about the basic understanding of it. And then you can contemplate. Okay? Diamond Sutra, 12 pages, 32 chunks, small chunks. I'm going to read a part of the chunk, first one. Okay? This is what I heard one time when the Buddha was staying at the monastery in Anathapindika. Anathapindika, you know, a city's name that you don't remember. Park in Jeta Grove near Sarasvati, with a community of 1,250 bhikkhus, fully ordained monks. Okay. Thus I have heard, very important part of that phrase. Someone was there to give an accurate testimonial. Okay? Metaphorically means that someone was there to listen to the wisdom. And it actually happened in a park next to a city. Why not in the city cafeteria? Why not in the streets? In a park where monks were assembled. It is a place they had elected as a sacred place, to differentiate it from what we do in the city. Okay? It seems like an insignificant phrase, but it is a teaching. That day, it was time to make the rounds of alms. At that point, it was still reasonable for monks to go in the city with a bowl like this and wait for food to be thrown in it. And when there was enough, they would go back and have the single meal that they had every day before noon. It was their time, their culture. Try to do this here, police arrest you at one point. Okay, don't do that. Well, I did it. I almost got arrested also. It was fun. 9 months begging on the street with not much, sleeping on my wooden floor, you know, and all the stuff. It allowed me to harden my will. And I discovered it wasn't worth doing that in this society. The Buddha put on his sangati, it's a robe, holding his bowl, went there, did that, got back, was completed, returned to the monastery to eat middle meal. Monastery, they say here, a place that was elected as a sacred place. Then he put away his sangati, the robe, his bowl. He washed his feet, arranged his cushion, and sat down. First thing of a very important sutra in the Buddhist wisdom, the Buddha first took care of his physical needs. First most important wisdom, take care of your human. Wash his feet, and then people, they take their shoes off, they take their socks off, and they go somewhere that was elected in some temples to wash their feet because this is what the Buddha did. Well, the Buddha washed his feet because he had no shoes. I mean, when you take off your shoes, you're doing what the Buddha did when he was washing his feet. That's it. Don't go and wash your feet. Take off your shoes. Okay, that's it. Alright? It's contextual. He had no shoes. He was dirty feet. He was going into his cushion. Didn't want to dirty it. Because washing a cushion was some ordeal. At that time also, they didn't have the technology we have here. So, physical needs. And of course there's a metaphorical wisdom in there. He purified the denser, lowest part of himself. He took the time to purify, to clean up physically. It's also a symbol of how he took care of his health, took care of the cleanliness of the area to avoid bacteria, spreading of disease, took care of the physical thing again. So, in the actual action and in the wisdom of the symbolic action, take care of your human immediate needs. Read. I'm going to read one line of the third paragraph or chunk, chapter, I'd say. What is a bodhisattva first? A bodhisattva, let's go word by word, dictionary style. Bodhi is a perfected mind, sattva is being. Someone who's perfected his mind. Simple. No more. And of course we say a bodhisattva is someone in service, bodhisattva is this, bodhisattva is that. Bodhisattva is someone who's purified his mind. If you have purified your mind, it means that you are virtuous, or at least you try to. Very hard, with passion. If a bodhisattva holds on to the idea that a self, a person, a living being, or a lifespan exists, that person is not an authentic bodhisattva. Oh, let us refine then, according to Buddha's words, what is a bodhisattva? A bodhisattva does not hold on to the idea of a self. The importance of what you are. You have an identity, but you don't hold on to the idea of having your identity. So that wisdom, hola Sabina, I'm happy that you're more healthy now. Try to concentrate and not go to the circus and so that wisdom is not about do not have a self. It is do not hold on to it. What is holding on? We're talking about attachment. Do not be attached to your identity. Doesn't mean to destroy it, to push it away. So these monks who were scolded later about how much they contemplated that they did not exist, when in fact they do have a sense of existence, simply not in the fashion that they know. The Buddha didn't tell you, you don't have a lifespan. He said, don't care about it. Don't make some big deal about that. Okay? Then you can go to the wisdom that there is no lifespan, but not in the way that your ego tries to reject your lifespan. There is no identity, but not in the way that your ego arrogantly tries to destroy the identity. Okay? So start with the Buddha's wisdom. Do not hold on or be attached to the ideas of a self. It doesn't mean a self does not exist. It means don't hold on to your idea, your conception of it. Of the self, of a person, of a lifespan. Okay, I'm going to read that phrase again as it is in the English translation. If, comma, Subhuti, comma, Subhuti is the guy who was talking. A bodhisattva holds on to the idea of a self, a person, a living being, or a lifespan exists, that person is not an authentic bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is someone who has perfected his mind. What is perfection of the mind? It is to be free of attachment. Can you be free of attachment? The Buddha in another sutra explains, you still have them. But when you see them, you deal with them to free yourself, to keep progressing in that fashion. In the Mahaparinirvana Sutra again, who of your monks are so arrogant to pretend that you are free from kama, desire? For when nature is in your perception, your face, isn't it obvious that you still have it, kama? He was saying, hey, don't pretend you don't have like a half erection looking at this naked lady in the lake because you're a monk. Okay? Instead, do what the Buddhists do. Admire the beauty of that beautiful naked body like you would admire the beauty of a waterfall and the sun shining on it. So there's a freedom of the attachment, of the yearning, of the interaction, of the way you would deal with a physical female body, and regardless, have all the appreciation of the art. Okay? That's Buddha's wisdom about the beauty of desire. Breathe. And for females, to admire the power that a masculine body could represent. And whatever it inspires you. And if the experience of it causes you suffering, admiration of the work of God, the Buddha said, of the beauty of nature, of the Mahamaya, the beauty of your experience will have revealed you something where you still have to perfect yourself, which is okay. So negating all that is created is not the way to be freed from what is created. That's all in the Buddha's wisdom. Now some of you can start to understand my attitude regarding one beautiful woman. Yeah, like a waterfall. I just want to dive, If I can, I'll transmigrate. I'll always find a way to get inside you guys. In a respectable, of course I'm joking, but in a respectful, acceptable way for a spiritual master freed from desire. I'm just triggering you now. I'm just using that. You breathe. For some of you it caused a slight resistance. Oh my God. I'd never. And for others it goes like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Come on, Maha. No, forget it. Don't take a ticket like at the deli, no. Who's next now? Forget it. Won't work. My job is to trigger your reactions. There is wisdom in that. Bodhisattva does not rely on any form of sound, smell, taste, tactile, object, or dharma to practice generosity. What does he mean by that? He doesn't count on his senses or his mind to define if he will be generous or not. He will go to something which is the experience of truth that he found out through the perfection of his mind. Let's even further that. If a bodhisattva does not rely on any concept when practicing generosity, the happiness that results from that virtuous act is as great as space and cannot be measured. If a bodhisattva has a motivation to be charitable, his happiness is lesser. If a bodhisattva does not rely on any concept to be generous, meaning he doesn't have any reason to do something, taking everything that the ego finds so precious for himself and he would offer it simply for the sake of what will happen in benefit for all living beings, or for the next person, out of egocentrism, the control. If the bodhisattva does not rely on any concept while practicing generosity, so there's absolutely no potential gain at the level of ego, the happiness that results from that is as immense as space itself and cannot be measured. And you will not do this until you do the ultimate sacrifices. I don't want to tell you how to do that, because too many people would react. But I'm telling you, your objects are not meant for you to own, but for the happiness that they can bring at the universal scale. And have gratitude that your objects, for a time, are meant according to the will of God to be apparently yours to use. Okay? Have this attitude with your mind, your ideas, your concept. But you can't be a true bodhisattva if you believe even your body is meant to serve you. And that is the difficult wisdom. In that state of faith and lack and letting go of control, your happiness will be so immense when you embody the virtue, the perfected virtue of service. Now, I'm not telling you to go and fuck someone for what pleasure could bring them. I didn't say that. Okay? Don't get confused about this. However, in any wisdom I give, there's always an opposite side. That might also be ego. Go to the point where there's no rule and stay vigilant. Teach people to free themselves from their desire. That is wiser. Okay? Read. So, generosity without motivation, without a rule on how to practice it, without an actual mindset on how it is accepted, without a system of comparison to identify what is a charitable act and what is not a charitable act. Something could be charitable, apparently, but not be. And something might seem to be abusive in surface and charitable in depth. I'm teaching here about the way I teach when I go and trigger you. And someone asks me, Maha, I want to attain this objective. Bang! I hit you in your ego and you feel, you just pissed me off. Well, you just asked me to teach you how to go do something. I'm going to point you out what prevents you from achieving your goal. Until you reach the point where I have to teach you the fact you have a goal to attain is what prevents you from having whatever you want. Then you reach whatever you want. I can teach you that whatever you want is arrogant. And until you reach that, keep wanting, because I do it all the time. It's so wonderful. It's beautiful. I love wanting stuff. Doesn't matter if I actually get it. Sometimes it does. All right. What goes on? Did I get it? Did I not? How am I reacting? It's okay. We're in nature. We're here to see deeper how to experience that perception. The Vajrachandika Sutra, the diamond cutting through illusion, is when you have a mind so pure that there's not even a glitch in it, like a pure perfected diamond. So hard, it can cut to any type of misunderstanding or abuse of the wisdom itself. Not to rely on a concept of charity. You understand the fundamental wisdom when you're a mother. And you do what is required for your child's emancipation, regardless of your tiredness, of your needs. You understand this, eh? You went through that, some of you. And for those fathers who are strong enough to stay close to their children and not act on the animal behavior that pushes them to go elsewhere and leave the family. Which is okay, by the way, there's no judgment. We're meant to do that. But for the men who are strong enough to stay and focus and provide, you know that. When your child is crying because he's just vomited in his bed and you're awake at 4 a.m., not only taking care of him, but also cleaning up the mess and all that stuff, which is what I did. I don't project this on the wife. Oh, you do it. I did this. I didn't hesitate to push the mother of my children to do the same when it was appropriate. But you know that experience when you take care of others. Now, teachers have this experience. When you have a student and you so don't give a shit about that question, for the 11th time answering today, and you see in the face of the student, there's arrogant, there's, please give me attention, can I ask you that, because my mind can't conceive something greater to ask you that you would find pleasure in answering. We teachers, we just enjoy the challenging questions where we have to go in philosophy and speak of the stuff that we like to study at our level. It's fun. You can imagine the time it took me teaching for the 100th time how to do a mala with the 5 basic elements. And how happy I was when more teachers were there to teach it. And they were so happy teaching it because they had the attention. And then some of you are at the point where, must I do that? Maha, don't you have a video? You just shoot by email. They need a physical person for initiation process to happen. So sometimes you send a video, sometimes you do it again. Do it again, yes. Not because it motivates you, because of the happiness you'll have when you see, think about the progress they did because they got the initiation from a master or a teacher or a priest. And you didn't find enthusiastically motivating to teach the 5 elements once and again. And yet you enjoyed so much the result when you see them start to awaken, start to have energy, start to have chi, to heal, oh wow, that was good. That was good, yes, all right, we love it. And you forget that pleasure that you had next time you have to go and teach the 5 elements. Because of that relying on a concept. So you strive to be bodhisattva. Of course, we still have human reactions always. So you can still be bodhisattva and have all the arguing about, I don't want to do this. Okay, everyone, take your mala. Let's start to teach, all right? Now, a specific aspect of this. I talked about the concept on which we rely to do charity. Let's go about the second part of that. If a bodhisattva does not rely on any concept when practicing generosity, then the happiness that results from that virtuous act is as great as space. It cannot be measured. Now, there's a part of the virtuous act, so charity not meant to buy off someone's ego attention. We call charity, generosity as a virtuous act. Okay? As in not a transaction. Oh, I was very charitable. I helped this guy move his table. Then he's going to lend me his truck. No, that's a business deal. Okay? Virtuous act. I helped you. End of it. You can even insult me. I didn't do it for you. I did it for God as a whole. Alright? Oh, what is generosity then? Remember my teaching on humility and false humility? Well, there's false generosity. Another important aspect, the happiness is as great as space, meaning that this virtuous act is what causes you to feel the greatness of heavens. Because the word space in Sanskrit is also the word for heavens. And the word great is not about the measurement, but about the feeling of greatness and wonder. And you can translate it in two fashions. A wonderfully spiritual experience can you reach, or how immense is the actual space of the known universe. Okay, you can translate this in two ways because it's the same words. Okay, it depends on the context. And it cannot be measured, meaning that there's no way your mind can identify the actual impact of the experience. You cannot have any concept. If you don't have a concept on how you have the generosity or the charity as a virtual act, there will not be any concept through which your ego will be able to handle the result. So you still have to be in a state of faith. If you can see the signless nature of signs, then you can see the Tathagata. If you can see the signless nature of signs, we'd say today, if you know how to read between the lines, if you know how to experience Dharma between the events that summon the Dharma, or make it rise, if you can recognize the wisdom where it stands, if you can see the signless in the nature of signs. He didn't say if you can see the signless in the signs. If you can see the signless in the nature of signs. Now, what is the nature of signs? The nature of signs is not the signs. The nature of signs is how the symbolic experiences rises from nature. How Dharma is made to be available to you. If you can see the untangible in how nature brings up tangibility, if you can see the wisdom in an actual physical event you had to go through, for example, then you can see the Tathagata. Okay. Hard part. What is Tathagata? Word for word in English, thus comes one. Tathagata is hence he came, thus come one. They're just arriving. And people think it has to do with someone moving. No, that's not it at all. It is the thing that happens with no reference where it's coming from nor where it's going. Hence, it came. No way about where it came from, no way where he's getting at. Non-referenced experience. Tathagata is, if you go to Bija, tat, gat. Okay? It's lots of T with a J. Okay? It's all the way that the structure of nature just move with absolutely no other reference on any type of purpose or means or goal to attain. Tathagata, metaphorically, means simplicity. The most perfected state of simplicity into which to exist, to just be there. And when you move, you're just moving. So that in the mind of the Bodhisattva, you're freed from the concept that motivates you to do whatever you're doing. Still, accepting the nature of how you're doing it, or the way that we evolve in a structured nature, Tathagata. There's 3 T's in there in the structural way. Is the bija of organizing stuff, events, nature. It means the world. Tathagata means that you are physically in the world, incarnate, embodied, structured, organized, free of intention and reason to do anything in that. Yet you're doing it. There's the ga in Tathagata. Meaning that you still do it. If you have the ability to see the signless in the nature of sign, the signless, okay, also means what has no reason. A sign is something that points you into a direction. A sign also refers to a goal to attain. Go there, you know. A sign is a way to achieve something. So if you see the signless in the nature of sign, if means also, if you can experience not having an objective in the nature of what seems to be attaining an objective, you will perceive the Tathagata. You will exist in the just that. In the simplicity of just that. Free from what is meant to point at something. What is a goal to achieve? A meaning, a reason. That is a teaching on the motivation aspect that I was telling you. That the ego uses for a while, then loses the motivation, and what you do, you keep doing out of passion, and this passion is not how a human is in a state of yearning. Oh, we had so much passionate sex. I'm talking passion as something that drives you, with no reference to what actually drives you. Tathagata. The true, real passion is the one that you cannot identify and still have it. Then you are beyond the human experience of passion, which is only a deconstruction of motivation for a human. Okay? Breathe. Now you see, for that wisdom, you really need to learn how to think out of the box as an expression. The other expression to be reading between the lines. In nature, seeing through events what it is meant to bring you, not in a way that is supposed to have a meaning, still brings you wisdom and understanding. Now that's difficult for the intellectual mind. How can there be wisdom and understanding if there's no meaning? Because understanding is what you mean. Well, that's from the ego's point of view. Understanding from the point of view of the soul is having experience so that you will be conscious. What is the goal of the soul? There is a goal in the soul. It is to be conscious. What is the goal of the ego? Is to keep you separate from that consciousness so that you can gain it. That's the effort we have to do with our mind, to awaken. First, Bhumi, to awaken, to stop being enslaved to the dream of events, although they still seems to be there, but they just happen. Tathagata. Now the Tathagata is the Buddha Sakyamuni, they called him that way. And when the Buddha used the word Tathagata, he didn't speak of himself. A Tathagata is not necessarily someone. It is, we call someone who is Tathagata, someone who knows the Tathagata does not exist as himself, because it doesn't have a conception of what is a self or a person, a living being or a lifespan. So how could the Buddha think himself of being a Tathagata? When he thinks Tathagata, he's not referring to he just arrived, as opposed to the people think Tathagata, the Buddha just came. Tathagata in the mind of the Buddha is stuff happens. There is love, stuff happens. It just happened. Tathagata is that mindset of simplicity about everything with no reference to the specific self. So you're Tathagata, from my point of view. Because you just got here, you know. Stuff just happened. Unreferenced Tathagata as this state of identity. So when we do the Buddha nature, you know, we try to remember the 7 Buddha nature names, and you can work on the 3 others. So you can have the 10 Buddha nature names. We use this as a tool. Then you get to the 8 Bhumi, say it's useless to do know your Buddha nature, just be, well, okay, but if you use that Buddha nature, you'll have it like quicker. It's a tool, we use it. It's just another tantra. So we do the Buddha nature, and I say at the 10th plane, most of the time, you're either named or labeled avatar or Tathagata. Avatar, when you're challenged, is about bring yourself here, incarnation. Tathagata, when you're challenged, is to let go of motivation, because you will accomplish yourself into just that. So even though I teach about avatar process and Vishnu incarnation and all this stuff about being here as God, in my nature, I am not avatar, I am Tathagata. On the surface, I really seem to be acting in the avatar fashion, except when you know the wisdom of the deeper meaning of this incarnation, for it would be, it just happened. And whatever just happened can be pretty fun. And all that seems to be avatar in my approach is, like this guy is all about enjoying in a compassionate way, benefiting from every possible stimulation to his nervous system without ever hindering himself or others. You know, I won't abuse from alcohol, but I'll have a glass of wine. It's an example, okay? I won't abuse from sexuality, but I'll have it. Not as much as you guys you want, but don't worry. When you start to be free of sexuality, you won't mind not having it as much, okay? For me, sexuality is about the management of my pleasure as a soul in the body. It's not about getting an orgasm, okay? And sometimes I need it. I feel it. When it hurts, sometimes it hurts. You know, when I take your suffering on me, some of it clogs. So I'll use sexuality alone, or you know, with the appropriate person in that case. And it's life. Rarely I do it, but it happens. I'm just using me as an example for you to contemplate. Right? I'm not reading that one. Even the Dharma that we study has a goal. But if you see a goal in the Dharma, it is not Dharma anymore. All the teachings that you receive are meant for you to do the next step. This sutra is called the diamond that cuts through illusion, because it has the capacity to cut through illusion and afflictions and bring us to the shore of liberation. This sutra is called the diamond that cuts through illusion. A sutra, from a Buddha's point of view, is not a few words. A sutra is not the book on which the words are written. A sutra is not the words written in the book. A sutra are not the words spoken when the words are read. A sutra is not the apparent teaching. A sutra is not the teacher. A sutra is an experience of Dharma that allows wisdom to rise. So to protect the wisdom is not to protect a book from being harmed. To protect the wisdom and cherish it is not to give value to a book, a container to which the words are kept. It is not to try to avoid the words from fading off from the pages. To protect the Dharma is not to protect the master that teaches them. To protect or cherish or value the sutra is not to care for the teacher who brings it. To protect and cherish the sutra is, in a perfected state of mind, to have a sense of what is sacred. To value the wisdom that rises with no reference from where it rises and where it is meant to bring you. Tathagata. The Sutra of the Lotus is not a book on which there's a lotus. The Sutra of the Lotus is the wisdom that teaches you how you gain the awareness of consciousness in the symbolic of Padma, which is the word lotus, the flower, but is a symbol of that is open to consciousness and still sinks through the stem in the depths of the waters and in the flesh, represented by the soul. The Sutra of the Lotus, because the Sutras is an attempt to find both words, little word. The Sutra of the Lotus is the actual experience from the Dharma of being incarnate and still in the undefined consciousness that allows you to incarnate. Crown chakra, do you feel it? The diamond cutting through the illusion is not the words, nor the one that speaks them, nor the pages on which they are written. The Sutra of the diamond that cuts through illusion is the wisdom that rises from the various methods that I will use. And in this case, I'm interpreting the words that seems to be the Dharma. But actually the Dharma is that experience that rises from my apparent interpretation. But how could I give you this teaching if I was in control of the goal to attain while I'm giving you this teaching? I simply have faith that the Dharma rises and that you will have the wisdom from the experience, that you will have a sense of sacredness that will allow you to release yourself from the illusion so you can go in that state of Tathagata, the state in which I am while I'm giving you that wisdom. Because the Dharma is perfect. And transcending the idea of the words on the pages and gain the true wisdom of the Dharma of just that. Simplicity in nature, freed from nature, but doing it anyway for no reason but the faith of what it is, what seems to be the objective to attain, which is not an objective, and nothing is attained. Still we're getting somewhere with no reference to where we're going, and we are afraid as humans because we have no idea where we're going, and that's wonderful. Let go of that insecurity so you can let go of the book in that compassionate understanding of no goal to achieve and no drama in the Dharma, please do not use that wisdom to disrespect the physical book onto which the wisdom seems to be written. For you still need the tool to teach you, to train yourself in the sense of what is sacred, so that you will be freed from that tool and experience Tathagata. Know yourself as all. This is the first time I've ever explained Tathagata in the way I experience it, and still I see your mind is progressing. Your soul is dining with pleasure on the wisdom. Filled. Some of you, the mouth is flowing with amruta. Amruta. Now do this. Mwah. You can feel there's something there. Because that water, apparently nourishing the higher consciousness over it, actually flows down along the stem and goes into the roots in the mud. And it is in the roots, in the mud of incarnation, in that fuzzy, foggy, unclear world, that all the nourishment can rise back in that stem and allow pure consciousness to open up to the sun in the symbolic lotus flower. Tathagata. Water, wisdom, dharma penetrates the soil of what we judge to be yucky and muddy, gooey, in which all the nourishment apparently experiences of suffering and happiness alternating, providing the required nourishment for the lotus to open up to the infinite Mahavarochana, the sun of greatness, of the being of what we are. Once we are freed from the enslavement to the ground and still have the humility to rely on that ground to stay conscious at the highest level. Tathagata, those T's and the G, and so much awe in there about the presence of that, telling you, move in nature. Move in nature. Freed of any reference to why you do it, why you should continue, but the passion, freed from motivation, the passion, yet in no goal to attain, and still the goal from the egocentric need of understanding that there might be something to achieve. It will happen. Tathagata. Just that. So meditate your Buddha nature sometimes, and unless I tell you your avatar, you are most of you, Tathagata. And take your little 21 mala sometimes, and you just go, Tathagata, Tathagata, Tathagata. And feel the increase of a passion you don't understand, and the decrease of the motivations of preference and yearning and desire. Tathagata. And each time you say Tathagata, while you need it to inspire you, also say in your mind, in your language, simplicity. Simplicity. Simplicidad. Tathagata. Tathagata. We are done.